Okay, let's talk about a big question. Is the world around you actually real? Today, we're jumping into a really cool logical puzzle from our source material that tries to prove that it is. But what's really wild is that it also points us toward a single, ultimate source for, well, everything.
So let me just ask you that directly. How would you do it? Forget about your senses for a second. No touching, no seeing. How could you prove, with just pure reason, that all this isn't just happening inside your head? It's a huge philosophical question, right? But the argument we're digging into today has a surprisingly elegant answer.
All right, so the very first step in this proof is to get a handle on what the mind even is. Not biologically, but what it is from a purely logical standpoint.
According to the source, it's pretty simple. The mind is just made of thoughts. And think about it. Every single thought you have, even a super quick one, has a duration. It lasts for some amount of time. This quality, this lasting through time, is called extension. So if the mind is a collection of thoughts, and all thoughts are extended in time, then it follows that the mind itself must be extended. Makes sense, right?
And here's the next domino to fall. Anything that is extended, anything that takes up time or space, can't just float in a total vacuum. It needs a place for it to exist in. You know, a line needs a page to be drawn on, a movie needs a screen to be projected onto. So if our mind is extended, it must also have some kind of container. And boom, there's our first conclusion. If the mind is extended and it needs a container, that container must be something other than the mind. And what do we call that something else? We call it external reality. Seems like we just solved it. Case closed. But not so fast.
This is where the whole thing gets incredibly clever, because a character in our source material throws a wrench in the works with a brilliant counter-argument that could tear this whole proof down.
So, the question is, what if reality isn't external? What if the mind is its own container? Maybe the ultimate reality we're looking for is just one massive thought that contains all the other thoughts, including itself. I mean, if you're talking about an ultimate reality, it kind of has to be self-sufficient, right? It has to hold itself.
Now, to see if this idea of a self-containing mind holds up, one of the characters uses this absolute logic bomb. It's a version of a famous idea called Russell's paradox. He presents this one tricky thought, and this is where the whole concept of a self-containing mind completely falls apart.
Okay, this is really cool, so let's walk through this together. It's a bit of a brain bender. First, we have to ask, does our special thought contain itself? Let's try saying yes. If it does contain itself, well then it breaks its own rule, because its rule is that it only contains thoughts that do not contain themselves. So that's a contradiction. Okay, path A is a dead end. Let's try path B. Let's say no, it does not contain itself. Well, if that's the case, then it perfectly fits its own description. And since it fits, it has to be included in the group, which means it does contain itself. That's another contradiction. We're trapped.
You see, both possible answers lead to a complete logical breakdown. And based on a core assumption here that reality isn't contradictory, this paradox basically proves that the idea of a mind containing itself is just logically impossible. An extended thing, like a thought or a mind, simply cannot, logically, be its own ultimate container.
But what's so great about this is that the paradox isn't a failure of the proof. It's actually a massive clue. Because if an extended reality can't be the ultimate container, then the true ultimate reality has to be something completely different. It has to be something that avoids this paradox altogether.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. Look, on one side, you've got extended things, like our minds. They need a container, and they run into a paradox if they try to contain themselves, so they can't be ultimate reality. But on the other side, what if there's something that is non-extended? It has no dimensions, so it doesn't need a container. It's totally self-sufficient, and it just sidesteps that whole messy paradox. This means a non-extended thing is the only logical candidate left for what ultimate reality could be.
So, what on earth could a non-extended, self-sufficient, ultimate reality even be? Well, the source material calls it the One. Let's take a look at how it's logically defined as the source of everything, existing completely beyond our ideas of space and time.
So to figure out what the One is, the characters first show what it isn't. They look at the idea of absolute nothingness, and guess what? It's another paradox. The moment you try to think about non-existence, you've given it a job, a presence in your mind, which totally contradicts what non-existence is supposed to be. It's a logical impossibility. So if total non-existence is impossible, then its exact opposite must be logically necessary. And what's the simplest opposite of nothing? Just being, pure being. And in this line of reasoning, for something to be, it must also be aware. So this fundamental reality is also pure awareness. It's the absolute foundation needed for anything else to show up. You can't get any simpler, because if you tried, you'd fall right back into that paradox of nothingness.
The source describes the one as having these three aspects, but they aren't separate qualities. They're all just different ways of describing one single essence. It's pure being. It just is, no cause needed. It's pure awareness, the very space in which reality can appear. And it's pure bliss, because if something is totally complete and self-sufficient, it lacks nothing, and that state is one of perfect contentment.
Okay, I know this is all super abstract. So to bring it all back down to earth, the source gives us this fantastic, powerful metaphor that really helps the whole concept click into place.
This one sentence just nails it. It captures the whole idea. We have to forget all our ideas of an active creator or some king on a throne. The ultimate source of reality is simply a mirror.
Just think about how a mirror works for a second. It doesn't create the things it reflects, does it? It doesn't judge them, it doesn't change them. A mirror is just the silent, still, aware space where reflections come and go. And in the exact same way, the one is this pure passive awareness in which everything we experience, our minds, the world, our entire lives, are just temporary reflections.
And that leads us to the final, really mind-bending question this whole journey brings us to. This entire logical proof has shown us that your mind is an extended thing, a reflection that needs a container. But if everything you've ever known, every thought, every emotion, your very identity is just a reflection, then what exactly is the mirror? That's the question we're left with.